Good afternoon and welcome to another session of the Edward Thomas Literary Festival. I'm very excited about this session. It's in two parts. The first part is a reading of a new poem created for this event by Adrien Garfe called I Remember Arras. It is a sequence in four parts corresponding mechanically to the four stanzas of Adlestrop. It imagines that Thomas as having survived the war and looking back on his war experience in France. Adrien wishes to acknowledge that the sequence plays fast and loose with some bits and pieces drawn from Thomas's writings, including his 1917 diary. As we know, sadly, Edward Thomas did not survive the war, and that takes us on to the second part of this session, which are a group of readings given to us by Andrew McKeown, who has been kind enough to record his and others' readings of poems around the grave of Edward Thomas at the Agney cemetery in France. We hope you enjoy this, and don't forget you can still sign up for other events in the Edward Thomas Festival. Just visit our website for more details. We hope you enjoy.
I remember Arras. Arras. I remember Arras more than the name, yes, today. Here too was chilly and raw, no thaw, yet why are we forgotten? Why do we forget? Place Victor Hugo, shutters blown out. Rimbaud and Verlaine stopped there, claimed to be murderous criminals just for the fun of getting arrested. Amid the gunfire, courage tested. I caught a wren chuckling as she soared out of her nest of prose. Fine modern house in Boulevard Vauban, good for billeting, living or dying in. The broken glass of the damaged cathedral, sparkling and spangling. I remember Arras, those that perished there, the hottest place this side of hell, if it was this side. I too could have died. Home. A savage child, I consorted with vagabonds, so with soldiers I felt at home. I ain't proud, just likes to be comfortable. I made a speech telling the men not to be shy about writing intimate letters home. Were my own letters home ever really intimate? Helen's letters, my lifeline. One letter makes all the difference. Poetry and poverty. Copse and corpse. Where did Daddy go when he left home? To Agney or to Achicourt? One of the vagabonds had a son. Once he came, I brought you a present, like. He held it out. A dirty old razor blade he had found on the ground. He might have slit my throat with it, or I his. Roads. One summer in Swansea, a schoolboy, I followed two girls along a road. After one had given me a look, as they walked, they smiled, only at each other. Often lost in endless dark, the compass never gave the same results. Drove from Arras to Avesnes-le-Comte and back by starshell light. Both ways came under mortar attack, mortal attack. Spotted a skull perched on a tree branch. Could have been British or German, who knows, or French. I packed it in my rucksack, brought it back to Delamere. I heard a snake hiss or a bullet. Something grazed my neck. Through Alincourt to Fosseux by lorry. Nearly froze to death, almost frostbitten. Still I loved even those roads. Weary, wary, full of worry. I had miles to go, but then I slept. Sonnet. They were shelling Arras, we were shelling them. About men, I discovered things Frost never knew. One morning I awoke, turned to the man in the bed next to mine. His face was a living scar. I tried to turn away. I could have cried and didn't. Dangerous. I remember Bernaville. Magasin pillé. I thought I would enjoy map reading when all that was over. I walked back, calling friend when challenged. I would go up to the edge of whatever lay before me. Whatever it was, it would always disappear. We don't forget. I was reading sonnets after dinner. I began to talk. The captain cleared his throat. Corporal Thomas, you best get on with your sonnet. All fell silent.
My name is Andrew McKeown and I'm speaking to you from the Agney military cemetery outside the town of Arras in northern France. I've come here today with some friends to do some recordings. Today, the 30th of August 2020, and we're going to record 4 texts from Thomas standing just facing his grave in this cemetery, which is tucked away behind some allotments on the outside of the town of well, a suburb called Achicourt, I think.
A tale. There once the walls of ruined cottage stood, the periwinkle crawls with flowers in its hair into the wood. In flowerless hours never will the bank fail, with everlasting flowers on fragment of blue plates to tell the tale.
As I said in the introduction, the cemetery really is tucked away behind houses and gardens on the very edge of Arras and its outlying suburbs. A sign on the roadside points to a footpath leading through brambles and overgrown elderberry trees. Not many feet come this way, and you begin to wonder if you haven't missed the right path. Then, almost taking you by surprise, the cemetery appears, a stone gateway, and beyond it a small but very well kept up sward of rich grass with what we come to expect in such places. Serried ranks of white lozenges, most bearing names and the crests of regiments, some not. It's a small cemetery. 408 dead are buried here, surrounded by trees. We could be in a garden on a Sunday afternoon somewhere in England were it not for the graves. 5 Germans are also buried here, 3 of whose graves I saw, Richard, Herbert and Gregor, lying alongside their British counterparts. Agney Cemetery, designed by Sir Edward Lutyens, is part of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, an organisation which looks after 23,000 war cemeteries all over the world, containing the graves of 1.7 million men and women from the Commonwealth who died in the First and Second World Wars. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission website has a search tool which enables you to locate any one of those 1.7 million dead. If you type in Philip Edward Thomas, you get his details from Agney and the inscription which appears at the base of his stone, Poet. If, inadvertently, you type in simply Edward Thomas, as I first did, you get 2,158 results. I'd like to read now It Rains, which is appropriate today. We've come to the cemetery. The rain has just stopped, but it's been a fairly rainy day all day today, and the leaves on the trees and the grasses all around are very much heavy with rain. It rains. It rains, and nothing stirs within the fence anywhere through the orchard's untrodden, dense forest of parsley. The great diamonds of rain on the grass blades, there is none to break, or the fallen petals further down to shake. And I am nearly as happy as possible to search the wilderness in vain, though well, to think of two walking, kissing there, drenched, yet forgetting the kisses of the rain. Sad, too, to think that never again, unless alone, so happy shall I walk in the rain. When I turn away, on its fine stalk, twilight has fined to naught, the parsley flower figures, suspended still and ghostly white, the past, hovering as it revisits the light. It Rains has always intrigued me for its title, its first words. It rains. An utterance that is sayable, true, but is very seldom, if ever, said. In what circumstances can one say it rains, Thomas's poem aside? The only answer I have is in response to the following question. What happens mainly on the plain in Spain? Answer, it rains. Well, if you'll forgive my triviality, the point I'm trying to make is that Thomas is no stranger to quirks of speech, and his it rains, echoes in language the quirkiness of the past, coming back to us in ways that only signal our loss. Ghosts he sees in a rainy garden, not unlike our own experience here today in Agney.
No one cares less than I. No one cares less than I. Nobody knows but God whether I'm destined to lie under a foreign clot were the words I made to the bugle call in the morning. By laughing, storming, scorning, only the bugles know what the bugles say in the morning, and they do not care when they blow the call that I heard and made words too early this morning.
No one cares less than I. This poem is one of Edward Thomas's off-the-cuff asides, almost a cast-off, you might say, destined for an Emily Dickinson drawer of scraps. It has bold, punky rhymes, God, clod, and makes no bones of its own self-defeating purpose. Let me explain. In stanza 1, the soldier hears a bugle sounding reveille and mouths words to it, rather off-hand words about not caring where he might die in battle. In stanza 2, the poet acknowledges that the bugle too is indifferent, that communication between man and trumpet is of course impossible. Now, Edward Thomas isn't noted, I don't think, for his sense of humour. But here we have what is, I think, a joke, and a metaphysical one, if I can say so. A joke about a world that man has made, bugles, wars, but which can't answer us for all that. And you, Helen? And you, Helen? What should I give you? So many things I would give you, had I an infinite great store offered me, and I stood before to choose. I would give you youth, all kinds of loveliness and truth, a clear eye as good as mine, lands, waters, flowers, wine, as many children as your heart might wish for, a far better art than mine can be. All you have lost upon the travelling waters, tossed or given to me. If I could choose freely in that great treasure house anything from any shelf, I would give you back yourself and power to discriminate what you want, and want it not too late. Many fair days free from care and heart to enjoy, both foul and fair, and myself too, if I could find where it lay hidden and it proved kind. And you, Helen? In fact, there are two and You, Helen poems. One by Thomas, the other by the poet Adrien Garfe. Thomas's poem is part of a group written as a sort of family will in the months of March and April 1916, written for his daughter's son and wife. Adrien Garfe's poem, illustrated by Charlotte Hodes, was published in 2014 to mark the centenary of World War I and is published by Seren Books. It focuses specifically on Helen's experience of grief and bereavement, how what Adrien Garfe describes as memories of a person inhabit you as a body. Adrien came to Arras for our 2017 centenary conference marking Thomas's death. She felt that being at Thomas's grave was an opportunity to close the story of her poem. As she put it, to hand the poem back over to them as a couple. So let me close this recording by thanking Martine Mergy and Benoit Laurent for coming with me today to Agney to do these recordings. I hope you, the listeners, will appreciate their readings. Thanks also to Jeremy Mitchell for inviting me to take part in this Thomas Digital Festival and for encouraging me to do the readings from Agney itself. The idea of French voices reading Thomas was unplanned and happened quite spontaneously. I, for one, am delighted with what I hear. The unexpected cadences and unorthodox pronunciations shake the words up a little, waking them off the page, giving us new for old.
I think you'll agree with me that those were both fantastic groups of readings, from the original piece written for this event to the readings around Edward Thomas's grave at the Agney cemetery in France. I'd just like to thank both of our contributors, Adrien Garfe and Andrew McKeown, for supplying us with this work and for taking part in the festival. I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you that there are still many things going on in the festival this afternoon and into this evening, so please check out our website to find out more details. Stay safe and we hope to see you soon.